The Silo Call of Duty 2. The Silo in Call of Duty 2 is one of those missions that doesn't just test your aim, it tests your patience, awareness, and sheer will to survive. Set during the American campaign in Normandy, this mission throws you into the chaos of assaulting a German missile site. You have to fight across a series of trenches, bunkers, and open fields where the enemy has every possible advantage. Moreover, enemies are heavily entrenched and armed with machine guns that seem to track your every movement with laser precision. The map layout funnels you into predictable lines of fire, so even when you think you've found cover, you're often exposed from another angle. Unlike the more scripted enemies of the earlier Call of Duty 1, the AI in the Silo aggressively flanks, throws grenades with frightening accuracy, and keeps moving constantly. You'll often find yourself pinned down by machine gun nests while 3 grenades land perfectly at your feet. Additionally, the mission doesn't have enough checkpoints, and it's split into multiple brutal objectives. Even after surviving the open fields, the final assault inside the Silo area ramps up the intensity again, forcing you to clear tight interior corridors filled with enemies waiting around every corner. You're outnumbered, outgunned, and forced to play smart. Players who grew up on regenerating health and forgiving checkpoints often cite the Silo as a wake-up call. One shot, one kill. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. One shot, one kill may seem like a simple sniper mission. Assassinate Imran Zakhaev with Captain Macmillan, then make your way to an extraction zone. But in practice, it's one of the most grueling experiences in the entire campaign, largely due to its pacing, tension, and overwhelming odds. The mission begins with the iconic long-distance shot from the Pripyat Hotel, where the player has to compensate for wind and distance to take out Zakhaev. This opening demands precision and patience. Wrong timing or misjudged bullet drop means instant failure. But the true nightmare begins right after the shot, as Zakhaev's guards swarm the area. Helicopters appear, and suddenly you find yourself in an active kill zone in Chernobyl. Moreover, you're given a sniper rifle and a silenced pistol, great for picking off enemies quietly but useless when the situation inevitably spirals into chaos. Once Macmillan is injured after the escape, you're forced to carry him on your shoulder for a while. This mechanic drastically slows your movement and removes your ability to shoot effectively. Then there's the brutal enemy aggression and unpredictability. On higher difficulties, enemies spawn in waves, flank from multiple directions, and throw grenades relentlessly. The AI seems almost psychic at times, tossing perfect grenades into your hiding spot or rushing your position the second you reload. No fighting in the war room. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. No fighting in the war room is one of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare's most intense and nerve-shredding missions. The entire level is essentially a ticking clock that gives you less than 10 minutes to prevent a nuclear missile from launching. It's basically a high-speed panic attack disguised as a mission. You begin deep inside a bunker, sprinting through narrow, dimly lit corridors filled with enemies who always seem to be waiting around the next corner. The level design also contributes greatly to the mission's difficulty. The map consists of steel hallways, identical rooms, and blind turns. The layout ensures that if you hesitate or take a wrong turn, you'll lose precious time. On higher difficulties like Veteran, even a single mistake can jeopardize the entire run, forcing you to replay the past few minutes. The enemy AI is relentless. They use grenades to flush you out of corners with perfect aim and can drop you in seconds. Unlike other missions where you can take it slow, here you cannot afford to. Mile High Club, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Mile High Club is the final secret mission of Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare, unlocked after finishing the campaign. It's barely a minute long, but it's infamous for being one of the hardest missions in the entire franchise. The mission throws you into a hijacked passenger jet mid-air, tasked with rescuing a hostage before the plane explodes. You have just 60 seconds to storm through multiple decks packed with enemies, all while avoiding civilian casualties and managing the clock. It's the kind of mission that forces you to replay it dozens of times, until your muscle memory takes over. On Veteran difficulty, Mile High Club becomes a test of absolute perfection. Enemies react with inhuman speed, instantly locking onto you the moment you peek out of cover. Grenades land with surgical accuracy, and the narrow hallways give you no room to escape. If you die, you restart from the very beginning. Players have to memorize every enemy's position, predict their spawns, and move with military precision. Many players compared it to a rhythm game disguised as a shooter. You're hitting beats under pressure, and one missed note ruins the entire run. What makes it even harder is the lack of checkpoints. If you die, and you will, you restart from the very beginning. This turns every run into a high-stakes sprint where any tiny mistake sends you back to square one. The mission's ending adds one last cruel twist. You have to make a split-second headshot on the final terrorist holding the hostage. Miss the shot or hesitate, and you fail instantly. After surviving the entire plane, dying in the last second is agonizing, but that's exactly what made Mile High Club legendary. All gillied up, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. Set in the ghostly ruins of Pripyat, Ukraine. All Gillied Up throws you into a slow, methodical crawl through enemy-infested territory. Up until this point, COD4 trains you to move fast, shoot faster, and rely on aggression. Then suddenly, All Gillied Up drops you into a sniper suit and tells you to not shoot unless you absolutely have to. The game's AI is tuned to react harshly to mistakes, and a single misstep can blow your cover and trigger overwhelming enemy reinforcements. The tension peaks during the iconic grass crawl sequence. You and Captain Macmillan lie prone in a field as dozens of enemy soldiers and armored vehicles pass mere inches from your face. There's no shooting your way out of this. You just have to stay still and pray that none of the guards step on you. Beyond stealth, the mission's design is intentionally disorienting. The overgrown cityscape of Pripyat, filled with radiation haze and crumbling structures, creates a claustrophobic atmosphere. Visibility is limited, sound cues are subtle, and enemy patrol routes are unpredictable. The lack of checkpoints in certain sections amplifies the challenge. One wrong move can send you all the way back, forcing you to replay several tense minutes. Then there's the sniper shot at the end. You're tasked with taking down Imran Zakhaev from nearly a kilometer away, factoring in wind speed, bullet drop, and timing. It's a high-stakes shot with a narrow window for success. Miss, and you'll have to reattempt under immense pressure, knowing the slightest miscalculation will fail the mission. Loose Ends, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2009. Loose Ends is one of the most brutal missions in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The mission drops you into the lush countryside of Georgia, where you, as Roach alongside Ghost, are tasked with retrieving Makarov's data from a safe house. The first half feels manageable. You breach the compound, clear rooms, and secure the intel. But the moment you plug in the data download, the mission turns into one of the most infamous defensive sequences in Call of Duty history. Enemy waves crash into the house from every direction, relentlessly throwing grenades. Veteran difficulty amplifies the pain. Enemies can laser you through foliage, react instantly, and land perfect grenade tosses. When the data finally uploads, the game throws you a cruel twist. You have to escape through the forest to the extraction point. It's not a cinematic sprint, it's a death run through a kill zone. Enemies flood the area from all angles while your vision shakes from explosions and gunfire. Then comes the infamous ending. Ghost and Roach are betrayed and executed by General Shepard, the first real gut-punch twist of the campaign. After all that struggle, you don't even get a triumphant victory. It's shocking, infuriating, and unforgettable. Exactly why the mission's difficulty sticks with players. Takedown, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2009. Takedown starts as a simple pursuit of Alejandro Rojas' associate, but quickly turns into a full-blown nightmare of close-quarters firefights through the streets of favelas. The map is a sprawling maze of narrow alleys, multi-level shacks, and tight corridors that turn every corner into a death trap. The player is forced to engage in constant close-quarters combat, where enemies pop out from doorways, windows, and rooftops with little warning. The layout gives the enemy every possible advantage, as they flank, reposition, and overwhelm the player from multiple directions at once. The militia in Takedown don't fight like typical grunts. Rather, they rush, they swarm, and they rarely stay in one spot. On higher difficulties, they can melt your health bar in seconds with a few well-placed shots. On top of that, there are no real checkpoints of safety, just waves of enemies forcing you to keep moving through the chaos. It's easy to get lost in the tangled alleys or accidentally backtrack, only to trigger more spawns or find yourself flanked again. Players often end up sprinting blindly just to survive, which is risky since running forward can trigger even more hostile groups. No Russian, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, 2009. The player, as undercover operative Joseph Allen, accompanies the terrorist leader Vladimir Makarov through a crowded airport. The objective seems simple: follow Makarov and his team. However, Makarov quickly opens fire on civilians, initiating a mass shooting. However, players can choose not to shoot the civilians. Here lies the first layer of difficulty: the tension between game mechanics and morality. Unlike a firefight against armed soldiers, the targets here are innocent and unarmed civilians. For many players, simply advancing the mission without firing is an unsettling act of compliance, while pulling the trigger actively implicates the player in virtual atrocities. Both options are morally distressing, creating a rare form of psychological difficulty in a medium dominated by reflex-driven challenges. The player's own hands feel heavy on the controls, not because the game is mechanically punishing, but because the brain is resisting participation in a simulated atrocity. In the end, Makarov betrays Allen, leaving his body behind to be discovered by authorities, exposing him as an American agent and using his death to ignite an international conflict. The betrayal cements the mission's legacy as one of the most disturbing and thought-provoking moments in gaming history. Dust to Dust, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Dust to Dust in Modern Warfare 3 is a mission that tests players both strategically and psychologically, making it one of the harder entries in the campaign. Unlike some of the more straightforward missions, this one combines intense close-quarters firefights, careful movement through confined spaces, and high-stakes timing to create a tense, pressure-filled experience. The mission begins with Price and Yuri wearing juggernaut suits inside a van, while Nikolai taps into the security feed of the hotel. From the very beginning, the level throws a mix of heavily armed enemies and helicopter threats at the player, forcing them to constantly scan their surroundings. Unlike other missions where enemies are funneled into predictable choke points, Dust to Dust scatters opponents across multiple levels and buildings. This unpredictability demands not just precision aiming, but also rapid decision-making, choosing when to advance, take cover, or retreat. One wrong move often results in being pinned down by overwhelming fire, making the margin for error extremely narrow. The verticality of the mission adds another layer of difficulty. Players frequently have to clear enemies in multi-story buildings, or move through rubble-strewn streets where sightlines are limited. Snipers hidden in windows or on rooftops can punish even the most careful approach, and armored vehicles require quick recognition of their weak points while maintaining cover from foot soldiers. Heart of the Reich, Call of Duty World at War. Heart of the Reich is widely regarded as one of the most challenging missions in the game, and for good reason. Unlike other World at War levels, it demands a combination of precise shooting, tactical awareness, and endurance under intense pressure. The mission places players in the heart of Nazi Germany during the late stages of World War II, with the stakes and the enemy presence ratcheted up to an almost punishing level. One of the primary challenges of Heart of the Reich is the relentless enemy density. This level constantly bombards players with a mix of standard infantry, machine gunners, and flamethrower soldiers. The enemy is aggressive and relentless, forcing players into continuous movement and making cover essential. Another major factor is the limited resources provided throughout the mission. Ammunition is scarce, health packs are minimal, and weapon upgrades or replacements are sparse. This scarcity forces players to be economical with every bullet and every move, introducing a layer of tension rarely seen in earlier missions. Moreover, the mission design itself contributes heavily to its difficulty. Many segments require synchronized movement with AI teammates, whose effectiveness varies largely. Players must balance aggressive advancement with tactical retreat, and misjudging either can lead to instant failure. Additionally, the mission's checkpoints are spaced unevenly, punishing mistakes by forcing players to replay difficult sections if they die. Blowtorch and Corkscrew, Call of Duty World at War. Blowtorch and Corkscrew is one of those World at War missions that sticks in players' minds because of how relentlessly it tests your precision and patience. It may look like a simple demolition mission, infiltrate a Japanese-held base, plant explosives, and get out. However, it quickly turns into a multi-layered gauntlet that punishes mistakes in every form. Players have limited visibility and have to rely on sound cues and timing. The mission's maps are not forgiving either. Choke points are common, and any misstep can trigger multiple enemy spawns. Enemy behavior also elevates the difficulty. The Japanese soldiers in this mission are aggressive and often coordinated. They flank, use grenades, and exploit the environment against the player. Suppressing them is almost never fully effective, and careless pushing can lead to repeated deaths. On higher difficulties, this becomes even more punishing. One or two mistakes can wipe out your progress and force a restart. Moreover, players often start with basic loadouts with limited ammo for rifles and sidearms. Precision is mandatory. Relentless, Call of Duty World at War. Relentless is a mission that demands mental endurance of the highest level from players, making it one of the most punishing missions in Call of Duty World at War. This mission combines relentless enemy aggression, limited resources, and high-pressure objectives. The primary challenge comes from the mission's enemy design. Players face waves of entrenched German soldiers armed with a mix of automatic weapons, machine guns, and grenades. The enemy is unusually aggressive, constantly flanking and pushing forward. Cover-based play is essential, but even then, the enemy's accuracy and persistence make it difficult to hold positions without being overwhelmed. The mission also includes sniper threats, which punish players for moving recklessly across open terrain. There are sections with tight corridors filled with enemies, immediately followed by open fields where snipers and machine gunners can pick off anyone unprepared. The transition between these environments requires a mastery of multiple combat styles, from stealthy movement and precise aiming to full-on firefights and suppression tactics. This pacing creates a mental fatigue that can affect performance, making even veteran players more prone to mistakes. Poor choices here are heavily punished, often resulting in death in a forced replay of challenging sections. Furthermore, the checkpoints are sometimes spaced in a way that punishes failure, forcing players to repeat particularly dense firefights multiple times, a design choice that reinforces the mission's title, Relentless. SOG, Call of Duty Black Ops. SOG is arguably one of the hardest missions in Call of Duty Black Ops. Right from the start, the mission throws players into the dense, claustrophobic jungles of Vietnam, forcing them to adapt to environments that are hostile in multiple ways. Unlike linear urban maps where threats are easy to predict, the SOG mission is designed around chaos and uncertainty. The AI isn't just a target. It actively flanks, ambushes, and reacts to player movement, meaning running and gunning is often punished harshly. Additionally, players are often required to move silently through enemy territory but are simultaneously expected to engage in firefights when ambushed. Grenades and explosives are particularly deadly here. A misstep can lead to a cascade of deaths. The mission's design doesn't offer generous checkpoints either. Enemy placement and behavior also contribute heavily to the mission's difficulty. You encounter a mix of snipers, automatic riflemen, and grenade-throwing units, often simultaneously. Their AI is intelligent enough to respond to sound, making stealth approaches tense, and aggressive enough in firefights to make direct assaults lethal. Time and fate. Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Cordis Die puts players in the role of Alex Mason in a setting where he must infiltrate Raul Menendez's stronghold in Nicaragua. From the start, Cordis Die is a gauntlet of enemies with a variety of tactics and weaponry. The mission setting constantly shifts between close-quarters combat and mid-range gunfights. Players must be highly adaptable, switching between stealth, precision shooting, and aggressive clearing. Enemies take cover intelligently, flank aggressively, and respond quickly to player mistakes. Players can be overwhelmed if they don't stay on the move. On top of that, Cortus Die has several levels, open courtyards, and interconnected buildings. Players must constantly scan for threats from above, below, and behind, making it easy to get caught off guard. Cover is limited, and sometimes deceptive, which forces the player to make split-second decisions that can mean the difference between success and failure. Another layer of difficulty comes from the timed and scripted events. Certain sequences force players to push forward under fire, while explosions, alarms, and enemy reinforcements continuously escalate tension. This isn't just about shooting accurately, it's about managing stress, controlling recoil, and making tactical choices in real time. The mission blends moments of high-octane gunfights with sudden scripted ambushes, meaning that memorization alone doesn't guarantee survival. Suffer With Me, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. Suffer With Me is a lesson in tension, timing, and environmental hostility, making it one of the most punishing missions in the campaign. Players operate in tight, enclosed spaces surrounded by entrenched enemies who have a clear tactical advantage. Hallways, small rooms, and multiple entry points mean that you can't simply charge through with reckless abandon. AI enemies are aggressive and coordinated, forcing the player to think about positioning and cover rather than relying solely on reflexes. Health regeneration is limited, and you're often under fire from multiple directions, which turns even a single missed shot into a cascade of damage. Add to that the high enemy density, and you quickly realize that patience is more valuable than trigger discipline. Rushing leads to repeated deaths, and the AI's precision means that mistakes are heavily penalized. Suffer With Me maintains relentless pressure. You're rarely given time to reload, reposition, or recover. Objectives often occur while under fire, forcing simultaneous multitasking. This constant juggling tests both skill and composure. Old Wounds, Call of Duty Black Ops 2. The mission Old Wounds in Call of Duty Black Ops 2 is the third campaign mission, taking place in a vast, arid landscape in Afghanistan. As Alex Mason, players and Frank Woods are tasked with assisting the Mujahideen in fending off a large-scale Soviet attack. The mission proves to be tough due to its vast, open environment, which provides little cover against numerous enemies, and its reliance on intense vehicle combat, forcing players to use specific weapons like the RPG-7 to take down tanks and armored personnel carriers. The use of horseback riding combat also adds difficulty as players must aim and shoot accurately while on the move. Furthermore, resource management becomes critical with a constant onslaught of enemies, and scripted events, such as the unexpected betrayal by a Mujahideen leader, require quick reactions. The mission concludes with the rescue of Mason, Woods, and their allies by an aged Viktor Reznov after the betrayal. Vendetta, Call of Duty World at War. Vendetta is a mission that demands a high level of precision, patience, and constant situational awareness. The mission takes place in urban and semi-urban environments with tight corridors, scattered cover, and multiple levels of elevation. This layout is deceptively tricky. Unlike open battlefields where long-range engagement and careful positioning can dominate, Vendetta forces players into choke points where enemies can attack from multiple directions. Grenades, machine gun fire, and sniper shots are frequent, and the AI is programmed to exploit cover effectively. The intensity of these firefights often requires players to master quick reflexes and strategic use of cover. Another layer of challenge comes from the mission's pacing and objective structure. Unlike linear shooting galleries, Vendetta tasks players with moving through multiple objectives while under continuous threat. The game occasionally forces players to split their attention between advancing toward mission-critical points and defending allies or civilians. This dual focus creates a mental load that amplifies tension and increases the chance of mistakes. Weapon management and ammo scarcity further contribute to the difficulty. While players may start with fully stocked weapons, the frequency of encounters depletes ammunition rapidly. This scarcity forces players to make split-second decisions about which enemies to prioritize, when to reload, and when to conserve resources. Mismanagement here can quickly snowball into a cascade of failures, especially in the tighter sections where retreating is nearly impossible. Black Cats, Veteran, Call of Duty World at War. Black Cats in Call of Duty World at War is widely regarded as one of the toughest missions in the game, and playing it on veteran difficulty transforms it from intense to downright punishing. The difficulty stems from the relentless enemy attacks, chaotic aerial combat, and the psychological pressure of trying to protect survivors while under constant fire. Mistakes are severely punished, and the mission's design ensures that even small errors can quickly turn fatal. The mission places players aboard a PBY Catalina seaplane patrolling over the Pacific Ocean, tasked with rescuing downed American sailors while fending off waves of Japanese aircraft and gunboats. On Veteran, enemy gunners and pilots are brutally accurate, reacting instantly and swarming from every direction. The pacing leaves almost no room to breathe. The action is continuous, forcing players to balance rescue efforts with defensive fire. The limited checkpoint system makes each section feel high stakes, as failure often means replaying long, chaotic stretches. Resource management takes a different form here. Instead of conserving ammo, players must carefully control the overheating of their machine guns and time their cannon shots for maximum impact. Over-aggressive firing can leave you vulnerable at critical moments, turning the mission into a constant test of composure, precision, and survival under overwhelming pressure. Operation 925 Special Ops, Wave 10, Modern Warfare 2, 2009. Operation 925 in Modern Warfare 2's Special Ops mode, particularly Wave 10, has earned a reputation among players as a brutal test of endurance, precision, and coordination. The sheer intensity and density of enemy waves in Wave 10 is punishing. Each wave introduces a combination of heavily armed infantry, tactical AI that actively flanks and suppresses, and occasional vehicular threats, forcing players to constantly shift their focus between multiple attack vectors. Grenades and coordinated pushes from the enemy often leave little room for recovery. By the time Wave 10 arrives, enemies are often equipped with heavier armor and better weaponry, meaning players can be taken down in just a few hits, even with cover and tactical positioning. Resource management is also a critical challenge. Players start the mission with a limited arsenal and finite ammunition, and ammo crates are sparse and poorly positioned relative to enemy spawns, forcing players to conserve every shot and rely heavily on precision. Poor ammo management can easily turn the mission into an unwinnable scenario. Additionally, the lack of checkpoints in the higher waves adds psychological pressure. Dying means starting from the beginning of Wave 10, which compounds frustration and fatigue. Third, the cooperative element amplifies the difficulty. Operation 925 is designed for teamwork, but miscoordination between players often leads to failed attempts. The mission's pacing is relentless. There are few moments to regroup, heal, or catch your breath, demanding perfect situational awareness and multitasking. D-Day, Veteran, Call of Duty. Ruck Call of Duty World War II thrusts players into the chaos of Omaha Beach with almost no room for error. Unlike lower difficulties, Veteran removes most player conveniences. Aim assist is weaker, health regenerates slowly, and enemy accuracy is unforgiving, turning a historically chaotic scene into a relentless gauntlet. The mission's opening assault exemplifies this difficulty. Players must land on the beach under heavy machine gun, artillery, and mortar fire while navigating obstacles like barbed wire and tank traps. One wrong step, and the player can be mowed down by a single MG42 burst or stray sniper shot. Weapon limitations further amplify the challenge. Early in the mission, players are equipped with low-level rifles or limited sidearms, which are inefficient against well-armed German soldiers entrenched behind cover. Ammo is scarce, and the AI's cover usage is smart. This dynamic punishes straightforward aggression, demanding precise movement, patience, and a keen eye for environmental advantages. The level design itself is punishing. Omaha Beach is wide open and littered with hazards. Progressing involves crossing exposed terrain where enemy fire comes from multiple angles simultaneously. Checkpoints are spaced far apart. One misstep can send players back through several minutes of intense combat. Additionally, veteran players must seamlessly adapt between sprinting under open fire and careful, calculated clearing of rooms filled with enemies ready to spray bullets at any sign of movement.